Bill O'Reilly here, Monday, January 24th, 2022. You are listening to the O'Reilly Update. Here's what's happening today in America. Most voters say the USA is going downhill. Food supplies low at some grocery stores. Ukraine braces for a potential Russian invasion. Carjackings spike all across the country. Also ahead, maybe something good will come out of President Biden's struggles. But first, new survey from NBC News says a majority of adults believe the country is heading in the wrong direction. A whopping 72% of voters say the USA is, quote, going downhill. 6 in 10 claim their income is falling behind the rising costs of living. Just a third report the family paycheck is holding steady. Only 21% believe American democracy is secure for future generations. Major shortages hitting grocery stores. Some shoppers finding it hard to locate poultry, dairy, beef, and paper. Supermarkets blaming supply problems on Omicron as labor shortages are now affecting food processing plants. The USA confirming about 700,000 new cases of COVID each day. Free face masks will be available at local pharmacies beginning this week. State Department urging the families of U.S. personnel to leave Ukraine. Russia advancing troops toward the border despite threats from the White House. The Biden administration promising economic sanctions should Putin invade. At least 100,000 Russian troops now await instructions from the Kremlin. There are currently 200 American soldiers in Ukraine, nearly all from the Florida National Guard. Number of carjackings jumping over the past 6 months. Grand theft auto, more than doubling in New York City, Chicago, Philadelphia, New Orleans, Los Angeles. Car robberies in San Francisco up 800% in areas like Fisherman's Wharf. Some neighborhoods reporting more than 3,000 car break-ins per month. Frightened residents now leaving their windows down when parking so criminals don't smash the glass. San Francisco is in anarchy because of progressive leadership. In a moment, the progressive movement could be in big trouble, and not only because of rising crime. Right back with it. Hey, investors, listen up. Inflation and rate increases are forecasted, which will potentially stall stock market gains. But the experts say apartment building values and rent increases are up. Almost 6.8 million homes are needed in this country right now. You have heard me tell you about Nria. They are building rental and condominium properties in high-demand, low-supply markets right now. I personally visited one myself in Florida. Their 15-year track record has been delivering competitive returns for investors. So, you might consider investing in a solid foundation and give them a call. 800-800-1414. That's easy. 800-800-1414, or check them out at nria.net.
An offer of securities is only made by the NRIA Private Placement Memorandum. Read it first. Past performance does not guarantee future results. NRIA is a real estate development firm. Learn more at nria.net.
Time now for the O'Reilly Update message of the day. Killing the vampire. While roaming the world for the syndicated reality program Inside Edition, I found myself in the Eastern European country of Romania. The government there was trying to create tourism off the infamous fictional vampire Dracula. The Bram Stoker creation is actually based on a real guy, a vicious medieval warlord named Vlad Tepes, who annoyed his neighbors by impaling them. No Vlad Putin jokes, please. As I drove around the Carpathian Mountains, primitive but beautiful, I interviewed a number of folks who actually believe in vampires. They told me the only way to destroy one is to drive a stake through the creature's heart. For some strange reason, the Romanian trip popped into my mind while I was watching President Biden's unsettling press conference last week. I'm certain old Joe is not among the undead because he'd be much more alert if he was. Now, here's why I bring up the vampire thing. The progressive movement is so tied in to the Biden presidency that if he falls, the radicals do too. If the president continues to falter, progressive policies will receive a symbolic stake through the heart. And that's the best thing that may come out of Mr. Biden's tenure. Here's why. Progressives, generally speaking, believe America is a bad place, so they want to change pretty much everything. Here's a partial list. Replace capitalism with socialism, where Washington runs the economy and levies draconian, sorry, I had to use that word, taxation on corporations and affluent citizens. Crush existing immigration laws and open the borders to all. Reimagine the criminal justice system so that most people who do commit crimes are not punished. Change election laws so even non-citizens can cast a ballot and voter IDs are abolished. Institute a one-world foreign policy where the USA could not take any unilateral action. Ban handguns for U.S. citizens. Ban all protections for the unborn. Institute government-enforced equity for minority groups, whereby they get preferential treatment, including reparations for slavery. Institute critical race theory teaching in public schools and abolish all grades. There's more, but those are the headlines. So here's my question. Shouldn't the progressive movement receive a stake through the heart to end this madness? The correct answer is yes. Again, if Biden and Kamala Harris go down, they're likely to take the radical leftists with them. Ocasio-Cortez, George Clooney, Bette Midler are worried. CNN and MSNBC, already on the run, would be finished. Stakes are being sharpened, and the bad guys know it. I'm Bill O'Reilly, and I approve the message by writing it. If you would like more honest news analysis, please visit BillO'Reilly.com, where you can see me on television. In a moment, something you might not know. The Federal Reserve has mentioned a few rate hikes this year, which means credit card debt is going to get more expensive, so pay it down as soon as you can. And while you're at it, please investigate all ways to spend less on interest, including your mortgage. It takes one call when you choose American Financing, America's home for home loans. You will get a free mortgage review where you can learn about custom loans that can save you up to $1,000 a month. And if you start soon, you may be able to close in 10 days. That's fast. And you can pre-qualify right now by calling 888-462-9557. 888-462-9557. Or visit AmericanFinancing.net. NMLS 182334 and MLSConsumerAccess.org. Now, the O'Reilly Update brings you something you might not know. 33 years ago today, thousands of Americans gathered outside the gates of Florida State Prison. Many carried signs reading "Burn, baby, burn," and "Fry him like bacon." The crowd had assembled to celebrate the execution of America's most notorious serial killer, Ted Bundy. Here's how the mass murderer ended up in the electric chair. Theodore Robert Bundy was born on November 24, 1946. Raised in the suburbs around Seattle, Bundy attended the University of Washington and then its law school. At first glance, Ted Bundy presented himself as a normal young man. Well-spoken and good-looking, Bundy even worked at a suicide prevention hotline. In reality, Bundy was a madman who brutally murdered dozens of human beings. Beginning in the early 1970s, young women in Oregon and Washington state began disappearing. Ted's own girlfriend reported him to police after discovering rope, gloves, handcuffs, and plastic bags in his Volkswagen. He was arrested in August 1975 and charged with kidnapping, but Bundy managed to escape from prison twice, once near Aspen, Colorado, where he might have had help. He then fled to Florida, where he viciously attacked a sorority house at Florida State University. About 3 weeks after terrorizing the Tallahassee campus, he kidnapped and killed a 12-year-old girl in Lake City, Florida. Bundy was finally apprehended at a traffic stop in February 1978. Prosecutors used bite marks from his victims' bodies and dental records to convict the former law student. He was sentenced to death. In the end, Bundy confessed to 36 killings of young women across several states. Police believe the final tally might have been 100. On January 24th, 1989, the killer was served a final meal of steak and eggs. He was then executed in the electric chair. And here's something else you might not know. Doctors removed Bundy's organs for scientific evaluation. The man was considered so deranged, researchers dissected his brain for months to better understand serial killers. Now this. There is a reason you have homeowners insurance, because without it, a fire, flood, or burglary could turn your life upside down. But there's something your policy does not cover that could destroy you financially. It's called home title fraud, and the FBI says it's one of the fastest growing crimes. That's why you need Home Title Lock. Title fraud happens when a criminal forges your signature stating you sold your home. Then he takes out loans against your home, leaving you with the payments. You'll spend a fortune in legal fees alone. Home Title Lock will put a barrier around your home's title. Once they detect anyone trying to forge their way onto your home's title, they help shut it down. So please go to HometitleLock.com and register your address to see if you're already a victim. Enter radio for 30 days of free protection. That's code radio at HometitleLock.com. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.